Hey there. Tonight, we're stepping deep underground into a world without sunlight, without fresh air, and without mercy. This is the life of an Appalachian coal miner, where the day starts before dawn and ends long after the light is gone. The air is thick with coal dust that will one day turn your lungs black. The pay is barely enough to survive, yet the company owns your house, your food, and even the store where you buy it. Down in the mine, danger is constant. A single spark can set off a deadly explosion. The roof above your head can collapse without warning. Water drips endlessly, soaking you to the bone, while the darkness wraps around you so tightly it starts to play tricks on your mind. For the men here, there's no promise of retirement, only the quiet knowledge that most won't live to see old age. The mine takes more than your health. It takes your youth, your spirit, and too often, your life. So settle in, and let's descend together into the tunnels to see what it truly meant to work in America's coal country, where every shift might be your last. The alarm doesn't ring. There is no clock. You wake when the sky is still black, when the frost clings to the window pane, when the only sound is the wind scraping across the tin roof. You rise from a straw mattress, your back aching, your lungs already tight. You dress in silence thick wool, patched denim, boots stiff with yesterday's coal dust. You eat what you can, cold biscuits, maybe a slice of salt pork. There's no time for more. Outside, the mountain is still asleep. The stars hang low. The air bites. You walk toward the mine with a lantern in hand, its weak glow barely cutting through the mist. Around you, other men shuffle forward, heads down, shoulders hunched. No one speaks. You all know what's coming. The entrance looms like a mouth black, damp, waiting. You step inside, and the world changes. The light disappears. The cold deepens. The silence thickens. You descend into the earth, deeper and deeper, until the sun is a memory, and the only thing that matters is the coal. You are a miner. And this is your life. The tunnel is narrow, the ceiling low. You crouch, crawl, squeeze through gaps. The walls drip with moisture. The air is heavy with dust. You light your carbide lamp and strap it to your helmet. Its flicker is your only guide. You breathe shallowly, try not to inhale too much. But it's impossible. The coal is everywhere in your nose, your throat, your lungs. You reach your section. You pick up your tools, a pickaxe, a shovel, a wedge. You begin to work. The rhythm's brutal. Swing, strike, shovel. Swing, strike, shovel. Hours pass. Your arms burn. Your back screams. Your fingers go numb. You keep going. You are paid by the ton, not by the hour, not by the effort. Only by the weight of coal you extract. Every minute matters. Every breath costs. You push yourself harder. You ignore the pain. You ignore the fear. The roof creaks. The walls groan. You know the signs. You've seen collapses before. You've pulled men from rubble. You've buried friends. You pray the timbers hold. You pray the earth stays still. You work beside your brother, your cousin, your neighbor. You don't talk much. There's no time. But you share everything: tools, sweat, danger. You are a family forged in darkness. You break for lunch. A few minutes. You eat in the tunnel, sitting on a rock, your hands black, your face streaked. You drink from a tin cup. You stretch your legs. Then you return to work. The hours drag, the light dims, your body weakens. You keep going. You hear a shout. A cart has derailed. A man is trapped. You rush to help. You lift, dig, pull. He's alive, barely. You carry him to the surface. You return to the tunnel. You keep going. The shift ends when the foreman says so. Sometimes after sunset, sometimes long after. You emerge from the mine blinking, coughing, staggering. The stars are back. The wind is colder. You walk home in silence. You strip off your clothes. You wash in a basin. The water turns black. You eat dinner beans, cornbread, maybe stew. You sit with your family. You smile. You pretend. You cough through the night. You dream of falling rock. You wake before the sun. And you do it again. Because this is your job. This is your duty. This is your life. You are a coal miner. And the mountain never sleeps. You don't just work for the mine. You belong to it. From the moment you sign on, your life is no longer your own. The mine gives you a job, yes, but it also gives you a house, a store, a doctor, a church. It gives you everything. And it takes everything in return. Your home is a clapboard shack on a hillside, built by the company. It's small, drafty, and barely insulated. The roof leaks. The stove smokes. The walls are thin enough to hear your neighbor's cough through the night. But it's yours so long as you keep working. You don't pay rent in cash. You pay in labor. If you miss a shift, fall ill, or get injured, the company can evict you. There's no lease, no protection, no appeal. Your house is a privilege, not a right. The company store is the only place to buy food, clothes, tools, medicine. It's stocked with goods priced higher than anywhere else. But you have no choice. The nearest town is miles away, and you don't own a car. So you shop there week after week, year after year. You don't pay with money. You pay with scrip. Scrip is a currency created by the company. It looks like coins or paper bills, but it's worthless outside the camp. You earn scrip for every ton of coal you mine. You spend it at the store. You can't save it. You can't invest it. You can't leave with it. The store keeps a ledger. Every purchase is recorded. Every debt is tracked. If you buy too much, the company deducts it from your next paycheck. If you fall behind, the debt grows. You can't escape it. You can't argue it. You can't prove it wrong. You are always in debt. You borrow to buy boots. You borrow to buy medicine. You borrow to bury your child. The company lends you scrip, then charges interest. You work harder to pay it off, but the prices rise. The wages fall. The debt remains. You are trapped. The company doctor treats you when you're sick. He's paid by the mine. He decides if you're fit to work. If you're not, you don't get paid. If you complain, you're fired. If you're injured, you're blamed. There are no second opinions, no compensation, no justice. The company church preaches obedience. The sermons praise hard work, humility, sacrifice. The preacher is hired by the mine. He tells you that suffering is holy, that poverty is noble, that questioning authority is sin. You listen. You nod. You pray. The company school teaches your children. The curriculum is limited. The goal is simple. Prepare them to become miners. Boys learn arithmetic and coal terminology. Girls learn sewing and cooking. College is a fantasy. Escape is a dream. The company owns the land, the roads, the water, the air. It owns your time, your labor, your future. It owns your body. It owns your soul. You try to resist. You organize. You strike. The company sends guards. They carry guns. They break up meetings. They blacklist leaders. They burn homes. They kill men. You try to leave. But where would you go? You have no savings, no transportation, no connections. The mine is your world. The mountain is your cage. You stay. You work. You endure. Because you must. Because the mine owns you. You don't notice it at first. The dust is everywhere on your clothes, in your hair, under your fingernails. It coats your skin like a second layer. You wipe it away, but it returns. You breathe it in day after day, shift after shift. It settles deep inside you. At first, it's just a tickle, a dry throat, a little cough. You ignore it. Everyone coughs. It's part of the job. But the tickle becomes a rasp. The cough becomes a wheeze. You wake in the night gasping. You spit black phlegm into a rag. You feel tightness in your chest, like something pressing from the inside. You keep working. You can't afford to stop. You have debts. You have children. You have no savings. So you push through the pain. You take shallow breaths. You rest when you can. You lie to the foreman. You lie to yourself. The dust is invisible. It floats in the air, stirred by every shovel, every pickaxe, every cart. It's made of fine particles, microscopic shards of coal and rock. You inhale them with every breath. They lodge in your lungs. They never leave. The doctors call it pneumoconiosis. You call it black lung. It's not just a disease. It's a sentence. There is no cure, no treatment, no relief. Your lungs harden. Your airways narrow. Your body starves for oxygen. You feel dizzy, weak, exhausted. You can't climb stairs. You can't carry your child. You can't laugh without coughing. You are suffocating slowly. You see it in others. The old men in the camp stooped, pale, gasping. They carry oxygen tanks. They cough until they bleed. They die in their sleep, or on the porch, or in the mine. You know your future. You try to protect yourself. You wear a mask. But it's flimsy, uncomfortable, soaked with sweat. You take it off. You try to work faster, spend less time underground, but the quotas rise. The tunnels deepen. The dust thickens. You are breathing death. The company denies it. They say the dust is harmless. They say the disease is rare. They say you're exaggerating. They refuse compensation. They fire whistleblowers. They fund studies that say nothing. You know the truth. You've buried friends. You've watched fathers waste away. You've seen boys cough blood before they turn 20. You've held your own chest in the dark, praying for one more breath. You join a union. You demand safety. You march, protest, strike. The company sends guards. The government sends silence. The dust keeps falling. You keep coughing. You try herbal remedies. You try whiskey. You try prayer. Nothing works. The dust is inside you. It grows with every breath. You write letters. You testify. You beg for help. Some listen. Some don't. The laws change slowly. The minds resist. The masks improve. The monitoring begins. But the dust remains. You are a miner. You are a man made of coal. And coal lives in your lungs. You learn to listen to the earth. Every creak, every groan, every whisper in the tunnel could mean death. You train your ears to catch the subtle shift in pressure, the faint crack of rock, the sigh of timber under strain. You don't just hear the mine, you feel it. Because one mistake is all it takes. You crawl through narrow passages, your helmet scraping the ceiling. The walls close in. The roof hangs low. You brace it with wooden beams, steel bolts, anything you can find. You pray they hold. You pray the mountain stays still. But the mountain is never still. It shifts with the seasons, with the rain, with the weight of centuries pressing down. It remembers every scar you carve into it. And sometimes it strikes back. You've seen it happen. A man swings his pick too hard. A cart slams into a wall. A tremor shakes the shaft, and then silence, followed by a roar. The roof collapses. Dust fills the air. Rocks fall like thunder. Timbers snap like bones. You dive for cover. You scream for help. You dig with your hands. You find nothing. Sometimes you find a boot, a hand, a helmet. Sometimes you find nothing at all. You know the risks. You've memorized the escape routes. You carry a whistle, a light, a prayer. But when the earth decides to bury you, there's no warning, no mercy. You've pulled men from rubble. You've dug for hours, days, hoping for breath, for warmth, for life. You've found bodies crushed beyond recognition. You've buried friends with your own hands. You've seen the grief. Wives waiting at the mouth of the mine. Children clutching photographs. Mothers screaming into the wind. Funerals with empty coffins. Graves marked with names and nothing else. You've felt the fear. Every time you enter the mine, you wonder if it will be your last. You kiss your children goodbye like it's the end. You write letters you hope no one will ever read. You carry your own death in your pocket. You've heard the stories. Men buried alive for days, tapping on pipes, scratching at walls, whispering prayers in the dark. Some are rescued. Most are not. You've seen the aftermath. The twisted beams, the shattered carts, the blood on the stone, the silence that follows. You keep working because you have no choice, because the mine doesn't care, because the quota must be met, because the debt must be paid. You brace the roof. You check the timbers. You listen to the mountain, but you know the truth. One mistake, one crack, one breath too late, and you're gone. In the dim, choking tunnels of the Appalachian coal mines, you're not alone, but your companions aren't always human. Mules are your co-workers. They stand beside you in the dark, their flanks slick with sweat, their eyes dulled by years without sunlight. These animals are the lifeblood of the mine's logistics, hauling heavy carts of coal through narrow shafts where machines can't reach. They are strong, reliable, and obedient. And they live underground, sometimes for months at a time. The mine is their prison, too. Once lowered into the shaft, many mules never see daylight again. They sleep in makeshift stables carved into the rock, eat from troughs filled with hay and oats, and breathe the same dust that fills your lungs. Their hooves echo through the tunnels, a rhythmic reminder of the endless labor. You grow used to their presence, their snorts, their brays, the way they lean into the harness with quiet resignation. Some miners talk to them like friends. Others treat them like tools. But everyone knows, without the mules, the mine would grind to a halt. Ironically, mules are often treated better than the men who work beside them. They receive regular feedings, scheduled rest, and veterinary care. Injured mules are patched up and protected because they're valuable assets. Injured miners, on the other hand, are expendable. If you break a leg, you're replaced. If you cough blood, you're ignored. But if a mule limps, the foreman takes notice. The company invests in the animals because they're seen as property worth preserving. You, as a worker, are just a cost of doing business. There's a bitter joke among miners. The mule gets a day off. I don't. And it's true. While mules are rotated to prevent exhaustion, you work until your body gives out. You envy their rest, their care, their protection. You watch them blink slowly in the lantern light, their eyes reflecting the same weariness you feel. You wonder if they understand the world they've been forced into. You wonder if they dream of grass and sky. Some mules go blind from the darkness. Others develop respiratory problems from the dust. A few panic in the tunnels, kicking and braying until they're sedated or removed, but most adapt. They learn the routes, the commands, the rhythm of the mine. They become part of the machinery living engines of labor. And when they die, they're replaced without ceremony. You form a strange bond with them. You pat their necks, whisper to them, share your food. You rely on them to haul your load, to keep pace, to survive the shift. They are your partners in toil, your fellow prisoners in the deep. And sometimes, when the mine collapses or floods, they die beside you. In the end, the mule's fate mirrors your own. Both of you are buried in coal dust. Both of you are driven by necessity. Both of you are forgotten when the mine moves on. But while the mule is mourned as a loss to the company, you are remembered only by your family, and maybe If you're lucky, by the men who worked beside you. Time doesn't pass the way it does for other people. You don't wake with the sunrise or sleep with the moon. You don't mark your days with meals or moments of rest. You measure time in shifts, grueling, endless stretches of labor that blur together until the calendar becomes meaningless. The sun is just a ruler. You rarely see it. You descend into the mine before it rises and emerge long after it sets. Your world is lit by carbide lamps and lanterns, not daylight. Your body learns to live without the rhythm of nature. Each shift begins in darkness and ends in exhaustion. You wake when the foreman says it's time. You eat quickly, dress in silence, and walk toward the mine with the same dread you felt yesterday and the day before. Underground, there is no morning, no afternoon, no evening. There is only the tunnel, the dust, the sound of picks and shovels. You lose track of hours. You work until your muscles fail, until your lungs burn, until the signal comes to stop. Then you climb back to the surface, blinking against the night, unsure if it's Monday or Thursday. Weekends don't mean rest. Holidays don't mean celebration. The mind doesn't care about your calendar. If there's coal to be hauled, you work. If there's a quota to meet, you work. If someone dies, you pause just long enough to bury them, then you work. Your life is divided into shifts, not seasons. You don't notice spring blooming or autumn fading. You don't feel the warmth of summer or the chill of winter. Underground, the temperature stays the same, cold, damp, unforgiving. You try to keep track. You scratch marks into the wall. You count paydays. You ask your wife what day it is. But it slips away. Time becomes a fog. You remember events by who was injured, who was fired, who didn't come back. You say things like 3 shifts ago, or after the cave-in. You forget birthdays. You miss funerals. You lose years. Your children grow up while you're underground. You see them in the morning, asleep. You see them at night, already in bed. You miss their first steps, their first words, their first heartbreaks. You try to make up for it on Sundays, if you're lucky enough to get one off. But even then, your body is too tired, your mind too numb. You sit on the porch, staring at the hills, wondering how long you've been doing this. The mind becomes your clock. The whistle is your alarm. The foreman is your calendar. The shift is your measure of life. You don't retire, you collapse. You don't age, you erode. And when you finally leave the mine for good, you struggle to adjust. The sun feels too bright. The days feel too long. The silence feels too loud. You've lived by the shift for so long, you've forgotten how to live by the day. The mine is never dry. From the moment you step into the shaft, water greets you like an unwelcome companion. It drips from the ceiling in slow, rhythmic taps, each one a reminder that the mountain is alive, restless, and indifferent to your suffering. The sound becomes a kind of torture, echoing through the tunnels like a ticking clock that never stops. It seeps into your clothes, your boots, your skin. It chills you to the bone and stays there, hour after hour, shift after shift. You learn to live with it. You stop flinching when it hits your neck. You stop wiping your brow because the moisture never leaves. Your gloves are always damp. Your socks squish with every step. The cold becomes part of you. It numbs your fingers, stiffens your joints, slows your movements. But you keep working. Because the coal won't wait. Because the quota won't shrink. Because the foreman won't care. The water isn't clean. It carries the grime of the mine coal dust, rust, oil, and the residue of 1,000 footsteps. It pools in low spots, forming black puddles that reflect your lamp like a broken mirror. You wade through it, splash through it, slip in it. Sometimes it rises. Sometimes it floods. Sometimes it drowns the tunnel and swallows the carts. You dig trenches to divert it. You stack sandbags to contain it. But it always returns. It drips on your helmet, your shoulders, your back. It finds the cracks in your gear, the holes in your boots, the seams in your coat. It soaks through everything. You feel it even when your dry phantom drops that haunt your skin. You dream of it at night, hear it in your sleep, wake up shivering. You wrap yourself in blankets, sit by the stove, drink hot coffee. But the chill lingers. You see what it does to the mine. The timbers rot, the bolts rust, the walls weaken, the roof sags. You know that water is more than a nuisance. It's a threat. It erodes the structure, undermines the supports, invites collapse. You report it. You mark it. You brace it. But you know the truth. The mountain will do what it wants. You see what it does to the men. Their hands crack. Their feet blister. Their lungs tighten. The cold makes them slower, clumsier, more vulnerable. Accidents happen. Tools slip. Carts derail. Rocks fall. You lose friends to the water, not just to drowning, but to the fatigue it brings, the distraction it causes, the danger it hides. You try to ignore it. You focus on the coal. You count the carts. You swing the pick. But the drip never stops. It's always there above you, beside you, inside you. A slow torture. A quiet torment. A constant reminder that you are not in control. You are a miner, and the mountain is bleeding. The mine is more than a place. It's a presence. A living, breathing force that wraps itself around you the moment you descend. The darkness isn't just physical. It's psychological. It presses against your thoughts, distorts your senses, and chips away at your sanity. You spend so many hours underground that your mind begins to bend. You start to see things, hear things, feel things that aren't real. It begins subtly. A shadow flickers at the edge of your vision. You turn, but nothing's there. A whisper echoes down the tunnel. You call out, but no one answers. You hear footsteps behind you, but when you stop, the silence is deafening. You tell yourself it's just the acoustics, just the echo, just your imagination. But the feeling doesn't go away. The mine is a labyrinth. Its walls close in. Its passages twist and turn. You lose your bearings. You forget which way is out. You mark the walls with chalk, tie ribbons to beams, memorize turns. But sometimes even that fails. You find yourself in places you don't remember entering. You feel watched. You feel followed. You feel alone and not alone. The darkness becomes a canvas for your fears. Every creak is a threat. Every gust of wind is a whisper. Every drip of water is a heartbeat. You start to believe the mine is haunted, not by ghosts, but by memories, by the men who never came back, by the screams that were never answered, by the silence that swallowed them whole. You hear voices, familiar ones, a friend who died last year, a brother who moved away, a child who's waiting at home. They speak to you in the quiet moments, when your pickaxe is still, when your lamp flickers. You know they're not real, but they feel real, and sometimes you answer. You see faces in the rock, shapes in the dust, eyes in the shadows. You blink, and they vanish. You shake your head, and they return. You start to question yourself. Are you tired? Are you sick? Are you losing your mind? You ask others. They nod. They've seen things too. They've heard things too. You're not alone in your madness. The isolation amplifies it. You work in silence. You eat in silence. You walk in silence. The only sounds are mechanical tools, carts, breathing. You crave conversation, laughter, light. But the mine offers none. It offers only darkness. And in that darkness, your mind begins to unravel. You try to fight it. You sing to yourself. You recite prayers. You count steps. You focus on the task. But the tricks persist. The mind knows your weaknesses. It knows your fears. It knows how to twist them into visions. Some men break. They scream. They run. They refuse to go back. They're labeled unstable, unreliable, expendable. The company replaces them. The mind forgets them. But you remember. You remember the look in their eyes, the tremble in their hands, the stories they told. You wonder if you'll be next. You wonder if the darkness will claim you too. You are a miner, and the mine is in your head. You walk through the mine, knowing that death could come not with a roar, but with a whisper. The air around you is invisible, silent, and deadly. Methane gas odorless, colorless, and explosive lurks in pockets throughout the tunnels, waiting for a single spark to turn the mine into a tomb. You carry a lamp, a pick, a shovel, and a prayer, because no matter how careful you are, the mine is unpredictable, and explosions don't give warnings. You learn to recognize the signs. A sudden change in air pressure, a strange stillness, a flicker in your lamp. You report it. You test the air. You wait for clearance. But sometimes the danger hides too well. Sometimes the gas builds silently, trapped behind layers of rock, waiting for the right moment. And when that moment comes, everything changes in an instant. The explosion is not just fire, it's force. It tears through the tunnels like a hurricane, ripping timbers, shattering carts, throwing men like rag dolls. The blast wave crushes lungs, bursts eardrums, blinds eyes. The fire follows, igniting coal dust, feeding on oxygen, turning the mine into an inferno. You can't outrun it. You can't fight it. You can only hope you're not in its path. You've seen the aftermath. Charred beams, twisted steel. Helmets melted to the floor. Bodies burned beyond recognition. Survivors staggering out, faces blackened, eyes hollow. Families waiting at the entrance, praying for names that never come. The silence after an explosion is the loudest sound you'll ever hear. You know the causes. A faulty lamp, a dropped tool, a spark from a machine, a cigarette lit in defiance of the rules. Sometimes it's carelessness. Sometimes it's ignorance. Sometimes it's just bad luck. But the result is always the same: destruction. The company installs ventilation systems, gas detectors, safety protocols. But they're not perfect. They fail. They're ignored. They're bypassed to save time, to meet quotas, to cut costs. You follow the rules. You wear the gear. You check the readings. But you know it's not enough. You've lost friends to explosions. You've dug through rubble looking for survivors. You've carried bodies to the surface. You've attended funerals with closed caskets. You've seen children grow up without fathers. You've seen wives bury husbands. You've seen the mine keep going, as if nothing happened. You live with the fear. You breathe it in with the dust. You feel it in your bones. Every time you strike the wall, every time you light your lamp, every time you hear a creak, you wonder, is this the moment? You are a miner, and the mine is a fuse. You enter the mine bent at the waist, and you never stand straight again. The tunnels are narrow, the ceilings low, the walls closing in from all sides. You crawl, crouch, and stoop for hours on end, your body twisted into unnatural shapes just to fit through the passageways. At first, it's uncomfortable. Then it becomes painful. Eventually, it becomes permanent. Your spine curves, your shoulders hunch, your neck stiffens. You walk like a man twice your age, even if you're only 25. The mind doesn't care about posture. It cares about output. You're expected to move quickly, to haul heavy loads, to swing your pick with precision all, while hunched over in a space barely tall enough for a child. You adapt. You learn to shovel from your knees, to drag carts with your back, to twist your body into whatever shape the tunnel demands. You stop noticing the pain. You stop complaining. You stop hoping it will get better. You see it in the older men. Their backs bowed like question marks, their gait slow and uneven, their hands trembling from years of strain. They don't stand straight, Not at church, not at home, not at their own funerals. Their bodies are shaped by the mine, molded by the rock, broken by the labor. You know you'll look like them one day. You already feel it happening. You try to stretch. You try to rest. You try to sleep on your side to ease the pressure. But the damage is done. Your vertebrae grind. Your muscles knot. Your joints swell. You wake up sore and go to bed worse. You take pills, rub ointments, drink whiskey. Nothing helps. The pain becomes part of you. You visit the company doctor. He shrugs. Occupational hazard, he says. Keep working. You ask for lighter duty. He laughs. There's no light duty in coal. You return to the mine, bent and bitter, knowing that every shift is another blow to your body. You watch your children mimic your posture. You tell them to stand tall. You tell them to stay out of the mine. But they see you. They see the toll. They see the inevitability. And some of them follow you underground anyway, because there's no other work, no other way, no other life. You are a miner. And the mine has carved its mark into your bones. You work like a machine day after day, shift after shift, deep in the belly of the earth. You swing your pick until your arms go numb. You haul carts until your knees buckle. You breathe coal dust until your lungs burn. And when payday comes, you stand in line with the other men, waiting for your reward. But what you receive isn't a reward. It's a reminder. A handful of coins. A slip of scrip. A number scrawled on a ledger. It's not enough. It's never enough. You count the money in your palm, already knowing it won't last. Rent is due. The company store needs payment. Your wife needs groceries. Your children need shoes. You owe for medicine, for tools, for last month's shortfall. By the time you walk home, most of it is gone. You haven't even eaten yet. You're paid by the ton, not by the hour. Your worth is measured in coal, not effort. If the seam is thin, if the tunnel floods, if your cart derails, your pay suffers. If you're sick, injured, or grieving, your pay suffers. If the foreman doesn't like you, your pay suffers. There's no fairness, no transparency, no dignity. The company controls everything. They own the mine, the housing, the store, the doctor, the church. They pay you in script currency that only works within their walls. You can't save it. You can't spend it elsewhere. You can't build a future with it. You're trapped in an economic loop designed to keep you poor. You try to budget. You try to stretch. You try to sacrifice. But the numbers don't add up. The prices rise. The wages fall. The debt grows. You borrow from neighbors. You pawn your tools. You skip meals. You tell your children, maybe next time. You see the injustice. You feel the rage. You join a union. You demand better pay. You march, strike, protest. The company retaliates. They fire leaders. They blacklist families. They send guards. They shut down the mine. You lose your job. You lose your home. You lose your hope. You return anyway, because there's nowhere else to go. Because your family is hungry. Because the mine is the only thing that pays even if it pays in insults. You watch your paycheck vanish before morning. You watch your labor disappear into someone else's profit. You watch your life shrink into numbers that don't make sense. You are a miner, and the mine decides what you're worth. In the mine, death doesn't always arrive with drama. It doesn't always scream or explode or announce itself with fire. Sometimes it comes quietly like a breath held too long, like a whisper lost in the dust. You learn to listen for it, not just with your ears, but with your whole body. You feel it in the soles of your boots, in the hairs on your arms, in the way the air changes around you. A rumble in the distance, a sudden stillness, a shift in pressure. These are the signs. These are the warnings. And when they come, you stop. You freeze. You wait. because the next moment could be the one that buries you alive. You've heard it before. Everyone has. The low groan of rock under strain, the snap of a timber that's held too long, the rush of displaced air as a tunnel gives way. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's a muffled thud. Sometimes it's a subtle vibration. Sometimes it's nothing at all, just the absence of sound where there should be noise. And that silence is the most terrifying thing of all. Because in the mind, silence means something has changed. Something has broken. Something is coming. You know what follows. Dust clouds so thick they choke the light. Screams that echo and vanish. The sound of men running, shouting, digging. Or worse, no sound at all. You rush toward the collapse. Your lamp flickering, your heart pounding. You dig with your hands, your shovel, your breath. You call out names. You listen for taps on the pipe, for muffled cries, for signs of life. Sometimes you find them. Sometimes you find only rubble. You've seen the aftermath. Helmets crushed like tin cans. Bodies twisted in unnatural shapes. Eyes wide open, staring at nothing. You've carried men to the surface. Their faces blackened, their limbs limp. You've watched families collapse at the sight. You've stood at graves, wondering how a single sound could mean so much. You've seen the foreman shake his head, the company issue a statement, the mine reopen as if nothing happened. You learn to fear the quiet. In the mine, silence is never peace. It's a warning. A shift in the air means something moved. Something gave way. Something is waiting. You brace yourself. You check the roof. You whisper a prayer. You keep working. Because you have to. Because there's no other choice. You hear death in the way the tunnel breathes. In the way the dust settles. In the way your coworkers stop talking. You hear it in the tremble of your own voice. In the echo of your own footsteps. In the absence of everything else. You try to ignore it. You try to focus. You try to believe you're safe. But you're not. You never are. The mine is unpredictable. The mountain is unforgiving. And death is always listening. Sometimes it comes for someone else. A man 2 tunnels over. A boy on his first shift. A veteran who thought he'd seen it all. You hear the news. You feel the shock. You wonder why it wasn't you. You wonder when it will be. You wonder if you'll hear it coming. Sometimes it comes for you. You feel the tremor. You hear the crack. You see the dust fall. You run. You dive. You scream. And then silence. You are a miner. And you hear death before you see it. You don't eat to enjoy. You eat to survive. In the mine, meals aren't moments of rest or comfort. They're interruptions. Brief, cold, and often silent. You crouch in the dark, your back aching, your hands black with coal dust, and you unwrap whatever food you manage to bring. A biscuit, a slice of salted pork, maybe a boiled potato. There's no warmth, no flavor, no ceremony. Just fuel for the body, enough to keep you swinging your pick for a few more hours. There's no lunchroom underground, no break table, no clean surface. You eat sitting on a rock, or leaning against a damp timber, or squatting beside a cart. The air is thick with dust. The walls drip with moisture. Your food tastes like the mine gritty, metallic, stale. You chew slowly, not because you're savoring it, but because your jaw is sore and your stomach is tight. You drink from a tin cup, the water lukewarm and tinged with rust. You wipe your mouth with your sleeve. You don't speak. You don't linger. You go back to work. Sometimes you forget to eat. The shift stretches too long. The tunnel floods. A cart derails. A man gets hurt. You push through the hunger, your stomach growling, your head spinning. You tell yourself you'll eat later, but later never comes. You finish the shift dizzy and weak, your body running on fumes. You climb to the surface, your legs trembling, your hands shaking. You eat whatever's left in your lunch pail, if anything. You collapse into bed without dinner. At home, meals aren't much better. Your wife does what she can with what little you bring home. Beans, cornbread, fatback, cabbage. You eat quickly, silently, grateful for the warmth, but too tired to taste it. Your children chatter around you, but you barely hear them. You're already thinking about tomorrow's shift. You're already back in the mine. Food is rationed. Meat is rare. Fresh produce is a luxury. You buy what you can from the company store, knowing the prices are inflated and the quality is poor. You stretch meals with flour, with lard, with hope. You eat the same thing day after day, week after week. You stop craving variety. You stop expecting satisfaction. You eat because you must. You see what hunger does to the men. Hollow cheeks, sunken eyes, slow movements, short tempers. You see what it does to the children. Thin limbs, bloated bellies, quiet tears. You try to provide. You try to save. You try to sacrifice. But the mind takes everything, including your appetite. You remember what food used to mean. Family gatherings, holiday feasts, laughter around the table. But those memories fade. Underground, food is just another tool, another burden, another reminder that you are not living, you are enduring. You are a miner. And meals are quick, cold, and eaten in the dark. The mine doesn't just wear down your body, it erases your life. It takes your health first. Your lungs fill with coal dust, your back bends until it won't straighten, your knees grind with every step. But that's only the beginning. It takes your youth, your hearing, your time, your relationships. It takes everything that makes you whole and leaves behind a shell that still swings a pick because it has no other choice. You start young. Some boys enter the mine before they've finished growing. Their hands are still soft, their voices still high, but the mine doesn't wait for manhood. It molds them early. The darkness becomes their classroom. The dust becomes their inheritance. They learn to work before they learn to dream. And by the time they're 20, they look 40. By 30, they feel 60. Their youth is gone traded for wages that barely feed a family. The noise is constant. Picks striking rock. Carts grinding on rails. Explosions echoing through the shaft. You shout to be heard. You strain to listen. Over time, your hearing fades. You miss conversations. You mishear warnings. You stop responding. The silence outside the mine becomes unbearable, not because it's peaceful, but because it reminds you of what you've lost. The mine takes your time. You work long shifts, sometimes 12 hours, sometimes more. You leave before your children wake and return after they've gone to bed. You miss birthdays, school plays, dinners, quiet moments. You promise to make it up to them, but the mind doesn't allow promises. It demands your presence, your energy, your attention. And when you finally get a day off, you're too tired to be present. It takes your relationships. You grow distant from your spouse, your children, your friends. You're always exhausted, always distracted, always worried. Arguments flare over money, over absence, over fear. You try to explain, but words fail. The mine has taken your voice too. You become a stranger in your own home, a ghost that appears at night and vanishes by morning. It takes your hope. You stop dreaming of a better life. You stop planning for the future. You stop believing in change. You accept the mine as your fate, your prison, your identity. You watch others leave, succeed, escape. You tell yourself they were lucky. You tell yourself you're not. Sometimes it takes your family literally. A cave-in claims your brother. A gas explosion kills your cousin. A flood drowns your father. You attend funerals with dirt still under your nails. You carry coffins with the same hands that carry coal. You grieve in silence, because grief is a luxury the mind doesn't afford. You are a miner. And the mine takes more than your health. Retirement is a word that doesn't belong in the coal camp. It's something you hear about in stories, something that happens to men in offices, not to those who spend their lives underground. You don't expect to retire. You expect to be carried out on a stretcher, in a blanket, or in a box. The mine doesn't let go easily. It holds you until your body breaks, until your breath fails, until your heart gives out. And even then, it might still demand more. You've seen it happen. Old men with twisted spines and blackened lungs still showing up for work, dragging their boots through the dust, coughing between swings of the pick. They don't stop because they want to. They stop because they collapse. Because the foreman finds them slumped against a wall. Because the doctor finally says, "No more." But even then, there's no pension, no safety net, no golden years. Just a quiet exit and a pile of unpaid bills. You work until you can't. And when you can't, you're replaced. The mind doesn't mourn. It doesn't pause. It doesn't remember. It moves on. The next man steps in. The shift continues. The coal keeps flowing. You disappear into the dust. Just another name on a list. Another body in the ledger. You try to plan. You try to save. But the pay is too low. The debt too high. The future too uncertain. You tell yourself you'll quit when the kids are grown, when the house is paid off, when your health starts to fail. But those milestones never come. The kids need more. The house needs repairs. Your health fails early. And the mind keeps calling. You dream of leaving, of seeing the sun every day, of breathing clean air, of walking without pain. But those dreams fade. The longer you stay, the harder it is to imagine anything else. The mind becomes your world, your routine, your identity. You don't know who you are without it. You don't know how to live without the shift. You watch others leave, some by choice, most not. A cave-in, a fire, a flood, a heart attack in the tunnel, a fall from the cart. You attend the funerals. You carry the coffins. You see the fear in your children's eyes. You feel the weight in your own chest. You wonder when it will be your turn. You don't talk about retirement. You talk about survival, about making it through the next shift, about avoiding the next accident, about keeping your body moving just long enough to earn another paycheck. You don't count years. You count days. You don't look forward. You look down. You are a miner, and you don't expect to retire. You expect to be carried out.